Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, people of African descent have lived and worked in Oregon since well before it became a state. Yet their stories aren't often told. For more than 30 years, a local organization has been working to change that. And here to share more, we welcome from Oregon Black Pioneers, Mariah Rocker. Good to have you with us.
Yeah.
30 years your group has been around.
Yeah.
So
incredible.
It is incredible. So tell me about the purpose.
Sure. So our group has been around since 1993, and basically someone moved to Carol Davis moved from Seattle to Salem to work in the public schools, and she noticed that there wasn't any Black history being taught in these schools.
Right.
And she recognized that there was a need there. So she actually created a group based off of one that she was familiar with in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest Black Pioneers. And so we had the Pacific Northwest Oregon Black Pioneers up until 2012 when we dropped Northwest and just stuck to Oregon Black Pioneers.
Well,
really
you know,
tell
I mean,
those stories.
Oregon really has a racist history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's fascinating that you do this. You give tours too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We give tours. We do both public and private tours. So, you know, you can
explain what happens on a tour.
Sure. So we, one of our most popular tour, we have a tour right there in Astoria, actually. This year, we're trying to capture more locations throughout the state. So last year we did a tour in Jacksonville that I created and did for the first time, which was pretty cool. A photo of that right there. And then this year we're working on targeting Astoria, Eugene, Oregon City actually, and then Portland, of course. So we do Portland tours every year and offer those particularly privately as well. A lot of folks you know, choose to come together and get that tour themselves. And so for the Portland tour, for example, we tour the historically Black Albina neighborhood and go to, you know, a select locations where we talk about different parts of that story, particularly in the Albina neighborhood.
Wow, there must be a lot of research to this. Let's talk about Letitia Carson.
Sure, oh, my favorite.
There's a lot of research involved in her life. So tell me about her. She was born a slave.
She was born a slave. She traveled across the Oregon Trail while pregnant and gave birth to her first daughter, like along the Oregon Trail, which, if you ask me, that's enough adversity in my life. Like, I wouldn't want anything else.
Right.
But after that, you know, they made it to Oregon City. Her and someone who may have been her husband, but was definitely the father of her child, may have also been her enslaver. You know, it's a little unclear. One of those stories.
He was originally from Ireland, right?
He was, yes.
So he
David
was
Carson.
white. Okay.
He was white. He was white. He was from Ireland. He had just gotten his citizenship right before they came across the Oregon Trail. And then when they got here, he filed for a Land Claim Act, a Donation Land Claim Act claim for 640 acres. So he got that like top number initially, but it was cut down to 320 acres, likely because to get 640, you had to be a married man, and their marriage, though it may or may not have been a thing, wasn't really recognized, so he couldn't maintain that 640 acres.
And do you think it was because it was interracial?
It very likely, because it was pretty much just white men and their wives that could receive that, and interracial marriage was illegal in Oregon around this time, or would become at the very least soon after illegal. And so so they had the Land Claim Act. She was taking care of, you know, dozens of cattle. They had planted trees, and they were like building a life here in Oregon. And then he passed away suddenly. David Carson passed away without any, you know, they weren't expecting it, without a will. And so his entire estate was given to a white neighbor.
Like just a neighbor?
Yeah, just literally given to a neighbor who then took the estate and was like selling everything off to pay his debts to send back to his beneficiaries, like in Kentucky, and just back, you know, where he came from, and not at all to give to his children.
That weren't his.
That weren't selling off things that weren't his, that were Letitia and her children's, her two children that she had with David Carson. And so she actually went to court and fought against Greenberry Smith twice and won in the 1850s as a Black woman with an all-white jury. She won twice. Not very much, as you can imagine, but she was able to prove that she wasn't she wasn't enslaved, that she had actually been working for him, and that David Carson had promised that he would give her, that she would become the heir of his estate. And then later she proved that she owned most of the cattle that they had had together. And so, you know, so she already went through all the adversity of like traveling the Oregon Trail, coming to a state that didn't really accept her, and then she had to fight for her rights as a human being. And then she later became the first black person, period, to file a Homestead Act claim under her own name, and one of the first 4 women to get a Homestead Act claim certified. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah.
So tell me about her descendants then.
Sure. So her descendants are actually most of them live on the Umatilla Reservation today. Her daughter Martha married into the Lavador family, which is like a pretty well-known family of artists today.
Who are we seeing here?
So there you're seeing Martha and 2 of her children. The oldest may or may not be, but is likely from a previous marriage. We know that she has a daughter a daughter that isn't a Lavador.
Okay.
And that daughter also married into the Lavador family. So there's like 2 lines of the Lavadors to this day. And we actually recently had an event at Temascalet, the cultural center on Wild Horse Reservation, where we got to bring together folks that are, focused on Letitia's story and her living descendants. So like some of the Lavador families.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There are many others. I just want to touch on it.
I talk too much about her. I know. I always have so much to say.
No, I love that you're excited. You have passion and heart for this. I love it. McCann Stewart?
McCann Stewart was Oregon's first black lawyer who actually fought for civil rights. At one point in 1906, he fought a civil case that actually made segregation in Oregon illegal.
Yeah.
After a theater goer had gone to the Star Theater, which still exists today, obviously, and wasn't allowed in due to segregation. And so they fought that case in 1906, but then just 9 years later in 1915, a similar case where William Allen, the owner of the Golden West Hotel, tried to go to an amusement park and was denied entry. And that case lost in the Oregon Supreme Court. And so there was like a period of time from 1906 to 1915 where it was illegal to segregate in Oregon, and then
we have so much to talk about.
I know, right?
And I have so much to learn.
Sure.
We have to have you back.
Oh,
hope you don't mind. You have to come back.
Yeah,
and we're going to tell everyone, if you would like to find out more, all you have to do is go to our website at k2.com. But we'll have so much on the Oregon Black Pioneers Group. You're fascinating. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.